Look, solo in this coupe with the ceiling off. Try to trail me home, I knock your ceiling off. Dirty money thumbing, hunters keep on peeling off. Falling out of love, I had to go and cut my feelings off. Dulling my emotions, I was so consumed. I use this paper as a bandage for my open wounds. Blanca Lotto got me tripping like a dose of shrooms. I know the nationwide dealers and the local goons. Allegedly, my pedigree is what you never be. Intelligent like German Shepherd breed, fight to the death of me. American bully.
Welcome to UFOintros, episode 12, featuring Skreenname. Sit back, relax, and open your motherfucking mind. He doesn't sugarcoat a goddamn thing, and he sure isn't going to tonight. So be prepared, be ready, be open, be free. Tonight, Skreenname.
Thank you, Sean. So, Skreen's the first person who ever booted me from a Twitter space. And we've since become pretty close. Pretty cool guy. I never really heard his UFO experience up until like a month ago. You guys already spoiled it a little bit. Thanks for that. But Skreen, why don't you tell us a little bit about what Skreen's mind was like before that happened? Like, were you just a normcore guy, like just nothing to do with paranormal stuff? I mean, where was your head at before you saw this shit?
1 second before that. Once again, this is UFOintros, so this isn't going to be your normal show. We'll bring people up to speak after about an hour or so and how the room flows. We tried it a different way last time, and I didn't like how it played out, so we're not going to do that again. So we're going to do it my way or the motherfucking highway. So enjoy the show, listen to Skreen talk, and have a good motherfucking time. Let's do this.
Yeah. So if we don't bring you up to speak, don't take it personally. It's like a interview type setting for the first bit, and then we'll do Q&A at the end. But Skreen, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just a normie before my experience. Like, I mean, now, you know, thinking back, like I had some experiences, like maybe like supernatural, like sleep paralysis with a being in the mirror, stuff like that, or maybe seeing shadow beings every once in a while, stuff like that. But you know, I was like told that they were tricks of the mind, and so they were tricks of the mind. I never thought twice about them. You know, like I'm very technical about stuff. I'm pretty open-minded, but I am generally very technical about stuff. So you know, that was it's like that wasn't even like a possibility to me at the time. Like when it was happening, I was literally like my phone was actually in my hand the whole time, and I've always told people like, yeah, if something like that happened to me, you know, I would just like get the video so quick, and I was just staring at the thing with my mouth open. Like that's how like amazing it was.
So you were a skeptic before you saw what you saw. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, I'm open. Before, I would say I was open to the fact that there was other life out there. But, you know, like people being abducted and stuff like that, I definitely didn't think that was going on.
All right, so take us through what happened that day. Like, what were you doing? Where was your mind at, like, before this happened? And then just, tell us about the whole shit.
Yeah, it was really weird. I had actually just like I had just kind of got home and was just chilling out. You know, I had just smoked. Like I was just hanging with my dogs, like my actual dogs. And
wait, so what exactly did you smoke, Skreen? Was this DMT or something?
Yeah, bro. That's what took me to the next dimension to see all the
I'm just saying people okay. You don't you don't usually see like craft though when you smoke weed, right?
No, and I'll even go about like you know, I didn't even rule out the fact that you know, maybe it was like a stress hallucination or something, you know what I mean? So like I actually like made sure like that what I was seeing was real before I told people about it. I was at least that smart, you know. But still, people, that's the first thing they always ask. Well, how crazy are you? Or like, what kind of drugs were you on at the time? You know?
Like, bro,
And
you were
it's just-
high on weed, man? Like, that's what it
yeah,
was. I'm like, have you ever smoked weed before? There's not a time where you're just like seeing alien spacecraft over your fucking house. Like, it gets on my nerves. That, you know, that narrative of like, oh, you were drunk, or like, you don't hallucinate on that shit. Like, especially a full, like, structured vehicle.
exactly, man, exactly. And it actually kind of bums me out because I'll hear people like when they share with us, you know, like the first thing they'll say is like, I'm not crazy, or I know it sounds crazy, or like, you know, I was not on any drugs. Like you shouldn't like, do you have to preface anything else like that before you say it? No, you know, it's just UFOs, which kind of sucks. But then there's this whole conscious aspect to the thing, and so it's kind of a little bit understandable. But yeah, I was just like I was inside the house. Um, you know, I was thinking about stuff. I had a lot going on. I was like deep in thought, and like I said, I was just like blazing, and like one of my dogs had walked by or something, and like I remember it was weird because I like had this thought pop in my mind, like, oh, I should just go let them out. But I literally had let them out like maybe 15, 20 minutes before. And I had three big dogs at the time. And so, you know, they're kind of a pain to get them all out and everything. So I was like literally fighting with myself, like, no, I just let them out. Like, it's such a pain. I'm not going to go do that. And then, like, I'm like, no, but if it was me and, you know, I'd want to go out again. Why not? You know, I'm not doing nothing. And so then I go outside and like, that's when it was there. And like, you know, thinking back, it's almost like it was like kind of like letting me know it was there somehow. Because I do feel like there was like a conscious link somehow. Like all these experiences that I've had, it's usually when I'm like deep in thought or like in meditation. And then these things seem to happen. So I don't know if you're like putting out a beacon or what.
You hear a lot of people who say similar things, like they just have like a feeling, oh, I should go home. I should walk outside and walk home or wherever before they see something.
Yeah, that's the weirdest part about it. Because like I said, I distinctly remember fighting myself. And like I said, I'm very technical, right? So like as weird as my schedule is, like I do things, I'm OCD, so like I do things in certain ways. And the fact that I just let them out and was out there with them for a while, like, you know, it's very odd that I went and did it again. But there it was. Like I actually had my headphones in, and like I said, my phone was in my hand, and like I was like smoking, you know. So I let them out, and I'm looking down at my phone, and I heard like this what I thought was like an airplane at first, because you know airplanes fly over all the time. But then like as it like registered, because I started listening, and I was like, no, that's not an airplane. That sounds different. Like it sounds too close. And so like I took my earbud out, turned and look up, and then like there it is. And like I said, I was literally just like staring at it with my mouth open, like, holy shit. Like, and you know, I'm looking at these three lights, one in each corner of this black triangle that is floating like a boat floats in the water. Like you know, like I said, there's no signs of propulsion besides those three lights in the corner. You know, whatever's going on there, anti-gravity or whatever. I could see it like interfering with the very tops of the trees, like the leaves and stuff. Like you could see like how those, like whatever it was emitting was like pushing on the leaves in like waves. And like you could, so that's why it's like it doesn't stay still and it kind of hovers like a drone in a sense. Like if you see a drone try to stay in one place, how it kind of moves around, it was like doing that. But so like I knew it was actually there because I could see it affecting the trees, you know, and then also I could feel the hum going through my body. It was making this hum noise like like that, and I could feel like the wah part like in my body, like throughout my, like it felt like I don't know like how else to explain it. Like if you were just like getting your whole body vibrated at once, like you know if you're like on a vibrating platform or something and just like getting your whole body shaking, and it actually jacked me up. like people say that was when I tell them, people say like, oh, that was probably just your adrenaline, but like it was more than adrenaline. Like I was euphoric. Like I felt like if there's anime fans out there, I felt like I was going Super Saiyan. Like I just felt like I could do anything. Like I felt super high almost, you know. And I felt like the vibration like did that to me. But it just sat there and let me stare at it, and I made the decision not to get the picture at first because like I understood that what I was seeing was rare, and I wanted to get a mental picture. Like I wanted to get it burned in my mind so that way I would never forget it. And because, you know, if I tried to get a picture and then it was blurry and then people talk shit about it anyways, so like, you know, I just chose to look at it. And then once I felt like I had like burned it into my mind, then I lifted up my hand and tried to, you know, get to the camera and take the picture or video. And in that short little amount of time is when it cloaked and went invisible. And my phone was in my hand the whole time. So that kind of backs up like the conscious link to me, because it's like it knew that I made the decision to now take a picture of it. Like, you know, because like how did it know I wasn't going to take a picture before? That's what was odd. And then what was else was odd, it was like as I was lifting the phone up and it was cloaking, it was almost like slow motion. Like that could have been my adrenaline because I was excited to get the picture or something. That part could have been, but like basically I felt like it was like basically right outside of my grasp. Like it was doing that on purpose. Like it was cloaking just fast enough so I couldn't get it. Like it was messing with me.
So
Wow.
this was at your place in South Carolina. Was it like getting dark? Was it still light out? Were there like leaves on the tree? Like what time of year was it?
Okay, so that part's weird. Like I specifically, this is where I wonder if maybe like I had lost time. Because I specifically remember it being right after sunset. Because I had just let the dogs out and stuff before. But like when I think back about it, I was going in like after it happened and I tried to chase it down and it was dark. But so like, you know, and that could have been just because it happened right after sunset too. So, you know, that part's hard to say, but you know, definitely like sunsetish right after.
So like twilight sort of.
Yeah. Because like I said, I could still see it. You know what I mean? Like when I looked up through the trees, like it's not like I live in the back of the neighborhood, and yeah, like I live in South Carolina. I live like right outside of Charleston, and I live by this base as well. I'll get to that, but it's like I said, I still there was still enough light where I could see it when I looked up. You know, it was like I saw it perfectly. But like because I was so focused on like remembering the craft, I don't remember too much of the details of like the terrain. So like I don't know if like maybe the lights on the bottom were giving off enough light to help me see it, or if it was just because, you know, the light, it was still light enough outside for me to see, because I was so focused on the craft, like trying to remember that.
So yeah, you sat there and you said, kind of let the image of this thing burn into your memory. Describe with like in detail what you saw. I put some images in the nest that I think you can reference.
Okay. Yeah. Basically, if you Google the TR3B, the artist pictures that come up for that, that's pretty accurate to what I saw. Basically, it was like it had the stealth vibe to it, like the stealth bomber, or yeah, if there's any Hulk Hogan fans, he used to be in this old show, like
With the
what was
boat?
it? Yeah, with the boat, the stealth boat, Tropic or Thunder in Paradise.
Yeah,
And
Thunder in Paradise.
yeah, and he had like that stealth boat. Like that's exactly the vibes that it had. It's literally the coolest thing I've ever seen my whole life. Like if Darth Vader would have popped out with a lightsaber, I would have believed it. It looked straight out of Star Wars. Like it looked so advanced. Like it was smooth. There was no seams on it. It like, and the way it just moved when it was like trying to hover, like it was like a boat in the water, kind of going with the waves. that was wild. It's just like the way it was moving is like your brain is telling you things aren't supposed to move like that in the air, you know?
Well, what did Ben Rich say? You know, like we have the technology to take ET home.
I believe
bro.
it.
So,
Yeah,
well,
bro. I mean, he was
You literally
telling us,
saw it.
and people just don't listen.
No.
Like it's all like once you get into this stuff, like it's all out there. You just have to like be willing to look at it and stick with the facts. You know, that's the tough part. But
I really don't understand how people could just look over Ben Rich saying that. Like, to be honest with you, it's this man like literally built every major like plane, leader of Skunk Works, Lockheed Martin, and they're like, he was old. Yeah, it was, but he was never like never had any brain issues or any like cognitive issues that I could find.
Yeah, and did he say that we could take ET home, or did he say we could take him home and back?
I mean, either way. But his exact quote,
exactly. Either way.
I forgot what he said. It was something. I don't remember. He said we can bring it. Yeah, I think we now have the technology to take ET back home. I think is what he said. I might be wrong.
Okay. Yeah, like you said, either way. And when was that?
That was like 92.
Like I said, the coolest thing I've ever seen to this date, and John Burroughs had his encounter in Rendlesham Forest in 1980.
Yeah.
So I found a few artist renditions of this thing. I'm not sure which one you were referencing, but yeah, keep going into the visuals of this. Like, what color were the lights? What color was the craft? All that.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I was trying to get a picture to put up there for you. Yeah, like it was like I didn't realize till later, actually, till like a couple weeks ago, that it like when I said it was like stealth black, like it was so black. I didn't realize that was Vanta black until just very recently because I couldn't like it. I remember it looked very weird, like the edges of it were like so thin, like it just looked like razor thin, like they came to such a fine point, and it was just like, I was thinking maybe that's for aerodynamics or whatever, but then I saw a sphere painted like a globe painted with Vanta black, and it looks like it's a flat circle when you're looking at it from the front because it stops the reflecting light, so it's like it's a 3D sphere that when it's painted with that black now looks like a flat circle when you're looking at it from the front. And then it clicked. I was like, oh, it was that Vanta black is why the edges look like that, So like I'm still figuring out stuff to this day, but the lights on the bottom, like I said, one in the corner. If you picture like take the sun, just chop it in half straight across and you would an orange or something, and just stick one on in each corner. And that's what it looked like. They looked like little plasma suns, like they were like amber colored lights. They were pretty decent size, the one in each corner. I did not see one in the middle. People say that they see one in the middle. Not see the like it really like when I used to work at Boeing, like the cones of the airplanes, they bake this like carbon fiber, and that was almost what it reminded me of, how there was like no seams and stuff. And then you get into like all this new graphene stuff, and so it's probably something like that. I'm just guessing. But that just kind of gives you an idea of the stealth look to it. Like I said, it was the most advanced looking thing I've ever seen. Like, it was amazing. It was top of the line. Like I'm trying to get across like how awesome it was. It's not just like I saw something that these people put together. Like this thing was like exquisite. The edges, I remember you asked me about the edges before, or the corners before. It's hard to remember like how round or how pointy they were because like the way I saw it, because I was so close to it, I was basically like looking up at the bottom almost. You know what I mean? Like I saw it from the side. But what was weird was when it cloaked on me, like it, like I said, when it was hovering, it was acting buoyant like a boat in the water in waves, just kind of bouncing around. But when it cloaked, it locked in place, like almost like quantum locking. That's the only thing I've ever seen do that before. And then you would think it would just like shoot off towards the front of the triangle, but it actually slid backwards to the side like it was on ice. It was it was very interesting. So what that told me was that the anti-gravity and the actual propulsion are two different systems. That's I'm speculating there, but that's what I got from that. And
So
I'm
these
putting up a picture now.
nice. These like half dome, half sphere things on the bottom that were like bulging out, sort of. They were the same color as the sun as well, kind of like a amberish gold.
Yeah, exactly. It looked just like little suns, like a half little sun there. Boom, like a dome light, but a sun.
Was it like? Sorry, you might have already said this. What was it that made you look up? Like, was it the sound? Did you hear the sound, or did you feel any kind of like wind or like? Yeah, I don't know. What was it that made you look up, or did you just happen to like catch it in your eye?
Yeah,
Sort of.
it was the sound. It was like I had thought it was an airplane at first, because like I said, I'm used to hearing airplanes go over, but then like as I listened further, because like I just assumed that at first. I had headphones in, but then I was like, wait, that doesn't sound quite like an airplane. And then I took my earbud out and turned and look up. I was expecting maybe like a helicopter or something at that point. But there it was, just floating, like like a boat. It was the craziest thing. Like your brain is telling you, like, yeah, this thing shouldn't be moving like that, especially up in the air. It's so wild.
How close do you think it was, Screen?
Dude, I could have hit it with a rock. Like a couple of feet at the most.
Sorry, you're cutting out a little bit. How many feet?
I said a couple 100 feet at most. Like, so my backyard is probably like 30 foot, like extending back off my house that way, and then a 30-foot section of woods right there, and then the creek, and that seemed to be where it was, like just right over that little section of woods, creek, right here, like right behind my backyard, like up at an angle. It was barely above the trees, so like 60 foot down and then like above the trees.
So you could see the entire thing within your field of view, right?
Yeah. It was behind, parts of the front were like behind the tree, but yeah, I could still basically like see it through the trees and stuff, because it was like, it wasn't cold, but it was like like it was just like in the evening, and like I remember it's like there wasn't a whole lot of like foliage on the trees, like a bunch of leaves and stuff, because I could actually like see through them, if that makes sense.
Okay, so it's like late spring or something early spring.
It was like halfway through July of 21.
Okay. So from when you first saw it to when it started to cloak or whatever, was it moving at all other than the bobbing? Like, was it going anywhere, or like when it started to disappear, did it start moving?
Yeah, when it like started cloaking, it's not like it just disappeared, right? It's like almost like it electrified the hole or something. Like you could see it kind of charge the cloak up. When I say cloak, it was just like the Predator, right? Like how you active camo, you can kind of see that it's there, but you couldn't. That was what it did. But then at some point, I couldn't see it was there anymore, right? It was just gone after that. But basically, it stopped bobbing around. It was just bobbing at first when I went back there, like not going forward or backwards, just hovering, just bobbing in place like that, right above the trees. And then once I lifted the phone up, that's when it quit bobbing. It sat perfectly still. Like if you look up quantum locking, where they like freeze a superconductor and put it over magnets and it just sits in the air, whatever way you put it, that's what it reminded me of. Because then once it locked in place, it didn't go forward, like towards the side of my house and out, to the rest of the neighborhood. It slid kind of backwards into the side, like towards the back right, kind of going over the creek. And like if you were going to, I don't know, kind of like if you were going to burn out in a car, how you would have to cut the wheel to like do it like that. That's the way it went, if that makes sense. Like I expected it to go towards the front of the triangle, to take off or whatever, but it kind of slid backwards, like it could go any direction essentially.
Well, it probably could have, man. And like it's a shame that it cloaked like that, and you didn't get to like see it kind of. You know what I mean? Like how it would kind of probably shift it off, and then.
Yeah, I hopped in the car and even went to the creek, and I couldn't find any side of it after that, of course, but I tried.
That's awesome, though, and that's the thing, though. After you saw that, realized it, focused, realized what you saw, and then you just wanted to see some more of it, huh? I feel you on that.
How did you said the front of it you couldn't quite see because it was behind some of the trees. How could you tell what was the front or the back? And I noticed some of these artists' pictures that you shared. I mean, you can see like fins or even like little cutout vent things on the back. Like, did you see any of that?
No, because I just saw the bottom, right? Like I couldn't see the top of it, but like the shape and all that pretty much matches, and like how the size of the lights in each corner. And you're right. I was assuming that the part to my left was the front, but that's based off of the way the triangle looked with the lights. But that could have been my perspective to it, right? Because of like how I was looking up at it, it could have looked like the back two lights were in the back, and that might not have been how it actually was, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's wild.
But even if that was the back, the way it moved, it still wouldn't have made sense. That's what's weird about it, because it was like it moved to its side. Like seeing those pictures, how you can like kind of tell which is the front. You know what I mean? Like even though it's a triangle, you can kind of tell what the front is. Like that was just how it was.
Okay. So you could, okay. That's interesting. And then like from when you first saw it to when you pulled your phone out and it started to disappear, what would you guesstimate? Like a minute, 30 seconds, 10 seconds?
30 seconds.
God. That's so insane. And so did like
I know, dude.
The like weird like vibration sound like did it speed up, slow down? Did you say that already? Or was it pretty much the same the whole time?
It actually stopped when it quit hovering and locked in place and cloaked. That vibration stopped. That's why I was under the impression that it was separate from the propulsion. Like that was the anti-gravity humming.
So you couldn't see like any features. Like you saw the shape of it, you saw those lights that were like concave on each corner. But other than that, you didn't see any kind of vents or rivets or anything like that.
No, other than that, it was smooth. Like I said, almost like carbon fiber.
Okay. And then I didn't quite understand what you meant when you talked about the edges being thin, but I mean, were you just basically saying that like the contrast between the sky and this craft was so stark, like Vanta Black, that it looked like the edge came to like a sharp end? Is that what you mean? Or did you actually see like the thickness of it?
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. Sorry, I'm trying to get you. I got a picture right here, so just to kind of put it in perspective for everyone. But exactly how you just described it, because I
Which
couldn't. I just knew it looked weird. You know, what the hell? Like, why does it look like that? Like it just like stops. Like,
Okay, so you didn't see the thickness. You just saw the stark contrast.
yeah, yeah. It was too hard for me to tell how thick it was. I estimated it to be like the size of a jet, small plane. Um, but besides that, I couldn't really, you know, with the lights in the corner and stuff, I couldn't really tell you like how like an actual size or how thick. You know, it's just my best guess.
Did you put up another picture? Because I don't see it.
All right, there it should be there now. It was loading as you said that. It's like this guy. He's holding the sphere that's painted Vanta black, and it looks like
Oh
it's just
yeah,
like a dot.
like someone photoshopped it on there. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
exactly, bro. That's what I'm saying. That's how it looked. I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, and I could see like a slight like a heat wave looking thing, like when the road's hot, or like the Stargate, how it looks like water almost. I could barely see that around the edges as well. But then, you know, like I said, I was like that. Like that's why I couldn't figure out like how they were so thin like that, like how it looked like that. I was like, what is going on? Like my brain was just like not wanting to register it.
Yeah, it's like wasn't computing. What was the first thing? Like you got in your car, you went over by the creek, it was gone. When you like relented on that, what was the first thing you did? Like you just go inside and like take a deep breath and sit on the couch. Like what did you do? Who did you tell?
I just rolled another one and went back to business.
Just another day in Screen's life, no big deal. It's TR3B, oh well.
Like after that, like if it came up, I would tell people, but they would just think I was crazy, you know. So it's like anybody that was into this stuff, you know, I would tell them, and even they would think it was wild. So it was just like I just started doing research and stuff after that point, you know, and then like
Yeah, you get sent off on your own to do that, right? That's why I preach about the grifting being such a problem, right? Because even if you have people in your family that have had these experiences, you go up to them and they may just believe it. They haven't seen it themselves, you know. And whenever Zim or Gimbal asked Green Street a question, he said, "What about that? You know, that triangle you saw?" And he was like, "Well, I couldn't tell if it was alien. I couldn't tell this and that." And I always say that's why I was thankful that I saw what I saw so clearly. You know, so I know for a fact that there's a phenomenon here doing something to people, like whatever it is. You know, like Stephen Muir talks about, there's definitely something here that we would consider supernatural. And I'm really thankful for that experience. And I think as experiencers, it gives you like a type of comfort, man. Like even if it's something bad, it's still comfortable to know that a lot of these stories that you've heard from people over the years, they're just stuff that people have experienced, whether that be a werewolf smoking a cigarette or whatever it is, you know?
yeah, I can get into that a little bit too, right? Like so at first, I was like Benowitz, right? Like I thought it was aliens. Like I was like, what? What the fuck is that? Like I'm going, like you know what? That's wild. Like that stuff exists. And then I was like, oh, I remember something like that. And so then I found the TR3B. Um, I live basically the next town over is called it's like it's weird. Like the way the couple towns right here meet up in the corner, it's like it's basically the same place, right? So like there's this base, this Navy base, and then a couple miles away, the Air Force base, like on the airport side. And it's one of 20 joint bases that we have in the U.S. They train people to work on the nuclear powered aircraft carriers and submarines there. Then Lockheed starts dropping these patents. You know, first the Salvatore Pais patents, then the Lockheed patents about the little fusion modules to fit in something the size of a small jet. You know, then we had the fusion breakthroughs and stuff, and then I just started seeing everything line up. I talked to Burroughs. You know, he tells me these are AI drones with consciousness uploaded into them. Steve Mera backs that up. Like it's really like a mind F. And like I said, Burroughs had his encounter in Rendlesham Forest in 1980. That was the coolest thing I've seen in my whole life, still to this day, right? And it happened 2 years ago. So like, imagine like what he's been sitting on. But like where it gets to me is I don't know how that drone affected me. Like Burroughs getting paid out is actually a big step for people.
Well, you
I
said that
think
when
more
you
people
were
should
when
be
you
talking
saw
about it.
when you saw it, Screen, you felt like you were a Super Saiyan, right? And if you listen to Dwayne from Black Frog Ranch or Burroughs and this frequency this thing can gives off, it can probably alter you, right? Like Stephen Mira says, you change one bit of frequency and you fall right through your floor. So it might have done something to you, man, that you can't possibly even fathom, right? Just from you being around the radiation, maybe this thing gives off. Who knows? I find it weird that you were in this elevated state. I mean, I know seeing something fantastic can do that, but if you're saying you felt like a Super Saiyan, then you must have been like way beyond your normal.
Yeah, I don't talk about it a whole lot, but I had some like health effects that I think that actually came from that.
Well, as long as you're not going to pull a Logan and tell me you have lightning powers, we're good.
No, that would be awesome.
I know, right? Not talking on Logan. He's my boy. I just shit on him for his lightning powers.
I don't know this Burroughs guy. You guys are gonna have to fill me in on that and how it connects.
What? Screen, this is your show. You got this.
Bro, what? Yeah, so that's about mine. Like I didn't see an alien or somebody in the military like wave to me outside of it. So like, I can't say what it was for sure. But Burroughs he's from Rendlesham Forest. In 1980, Rendlesham Forest in the UK, it's like right outside of the U.S. Air Force Base. There was a 3-night event with weird stuff in the Black Triangle.
He had injuries from it. Okay, I know
exactly.
I just didn't.
But he was the only one that had his weapon drawn, and he's the only one that got lasting injuries. You could say, because like the other guys kind of had effects, but not just he had major effects. But yeah, so when I heard that was a Black Triangle, I was like, dude, I got to find out everything I can about this. And I actually caught him on a podcast, and they were taking live questions. And so I remember he was on a Jimmy Church podcast a little bit before, a couple weeks before that. He mentioned a conscious plasma link with these drones, and Jimmy didn't ask him shit about it and just kept it pushing. And I was so mad. I was like, what? Yeah, dude. And then when
before we get to that question, buy my new Fade to Black coffee, Fade or not. All right, bro, chill out, dog. Chill out with the fucking promos for 15 goddamn minutes and get to the here we are, guys. We're gonna talk about it right now. Coffee. It's like, Jesus, Jimmy.
I want to get a Jimmy Church AI.
It would just say a lot, we processing. Oh, it gets on my nerves.
That's wild. That's crazy.
But he's right. No, he's right though. He's dead ass right. It's annoying as shit. Like you're watching Jimmy Church thinking for sure you're about to get someone you love is on there, and then they never get there and the show ends. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, he definitely. I wonder sometimes what he even thinks about or knows with some of his guests. But if anyone wants to come up and ask a question, I guess we can Well, actually, Screen, is that cool with you? Do you want to talk more about?
Well, I have a question for
Yeah,
Screen.
go for it.
Screen, after you saw that and you started doing your exploration into the ufology and everything, we both know the hard truth about ufology. We both know that 80 or more percent of it is solid bullshit, I believe. We both know this. We both spend a lot of our time preaching what we found to be the truth through our research. That's why we're friends, even though we literally have our moments all the time, but we always stick to be friends. How does it make you feel? Like, how do you feel like seeing that craft the way you did has helped you see through a lot of the bullshit in ufology, and maybe like your ability to kind of like break it down has kept you from those lost doors that some people stumble into?
Yeah. Just like anything else, is perspective, right? Because like on one hand, it kind of ruined my life. But on the other hand, because I didn't get into it until I saw that, I'm not very biased on stuff. It's like I do tend to lean towards maybe like the more ancient explanations for things. But not like how do I explain it? Like I feel like there's like especially with stories handed down, like that's like the oldest form of sharing knowledge. So I do think there's some truth in all of that, but it allows me, like Steve's, how they step back and they say it's like the phenomena as a whole, like mimicking things. That seems to be like what majority of it actually is. To me, it's a phenomena that interacts with your consciousness in a way, and it generally mimics all this other stuff. And then there's very few between actual cases of the real thing happening. That's just my opinion on it, and a lot of people don't like that. Like you said, probably 80% of it is drones or our tech. 15 or 17% is conscious communication with maybe like a higher entity of some type, and then 3% of that physical.
Yeah, I think that's about right. This stuff, man, it's crazy, right? There's just too much going on that it's like you said earlier, man, when you have someone join a room and they say, I'm not crazy, or, you made that really good statement that one time. You said people from India will come in and they'll laugh at us, they'll fucking laugh in our faces. And then we have a lot of people that come in our rooms that are having like really bad experiences, like, really bad stuff. And it'll be a room, the room title, it'll be like right now, we'll just have someone join we've never seen before. They'll either tell us about the Nephilim, which is what keeps happening to me, or they'll tell us like, about some real experience involving them, their kids and stuff. And it's terrifying to me because that stuff is happening. And everyone wants to focus on like the Matthias De Stefanos, the David Wilcoxes, or fucking whatever. And none of that shit really, I don't give a shit where it's from. I just know that it's here, whatever it is, right? So,
well, that's the thing. They should add consciousness to what they're saying, right?
Yeah.
Like all this stuff in my consciousness, or like I could get down with that stuff if you knew that they were doing that in meditative states or whatever else, but they don't tell you that part, right? So that you think they're like actually in the jungle chilling with aliens or whatever it is.
Yeah, Bigelow owned the ranch, and he's big into consciousness. Like literally, that's why he had it. It wasn't to find grays underneath the fucking mesa or nothing. It was to recharge consciousness. I have a picture from Chris Bartell of remote viewing done in Homestead too, and it's a lot of remote viewing. It's nuts, the picture. So it's that's what he was doing, and I think consciousness plays a insanely major role. That and the native teachings play massive roles in this, because the natives also teach the consciousness aspect, but through their own ways. But it has a lot to do with the power of the mind.
Yeah, every time I've had an experience, because I've had multiple experiences with the spheres as well, the mostly orbs or bet spheres, I've had multiple of those around me. And actually, one time it was when I was I was giving this lady a ride. I was Ubering, and one flew over us, and at first it sounded like a helicopter or something because it was like the way it like chopped. It was weird, and it had like this field around it, so it was blurry. And it was the craziest thing, and it just like basically flew right over the car and then dipped up and went up. And the lady was looking at me and she said, "The devil is following you." I was like, oh shit. But then you start, to get into that and the consciousness and the aspect of the different masks and stuff, and they're all talking about the same thing, right? And it's man, consciousness is such a big part of it. That's what I'm trying to say. Like every time I've had an experience, I've been deep in thought or inside my head thinking about all the stuff I got going on, or just whatever it is, and then that stuff happens, and that seems to be like the common denominator for me.
So you saw this again with a passenger, like driving Uber.
No, that was just a sphere, like a metal sphere, like the bed
Okay.
spheres. Yeah.
I
But
misread.
no,
Sorry.
I did see one. I mean, I see them very often. I've probably seen it like 5 times, but that one time just real up close. Because the other times, with everything that's up in the sky and all, it's hard to know what you're looking at sometimes, especially with which way you're driving or whatever. But I do keep like all the radar stuff on my phone, so like I can check and make sure nothing's supposed to be there. And then I did see one like right after the Steve Mirror space actually, and I got a little bit of footage of it where it's like going behind a tree towards the base, and the police presence was so fucking heavy. I've never seen it like that, where the regular police were outside before the base, and then the base police were like right there before, like as you go on the base. And like there's no airport over there. So like where this thing is going. And it's weird though, because like I had to like I didn't think I was gonna be like seeing one, especially right after Steve Mirror's face and all. And I was like, nope, that's one. So I had to like get off the interstate, get back on, and by the time I got off the other exit and got like up under it and pulled over and stuff, it just happens to be going behind the trees. But at that point, it sounds a little bit like an airplane, or like yeah, probably a little bit like an airplane. But the distance I am to it, it should be a lot louder than it is, which is very weird. So it's like I can't be sure on that type of stuff, so I don't really say too much about it. But I've got some of those videos and stuff.
Alex, go ahead.
Hi guys, thank you so much for this talk, Skree and UFOintros. Skree, I've got a few questions, buddy, just to ask. How old were you when this happened? Your age? Approximately.
32.
You mentioned Boeing. Had you worked at Boeing before this event?
Yeah, when I worked out at Boeing, I was probably like 21.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I was 21.
Okay.
I know that.
I guess you had an internet connection at home when this happened, so you use the internet a lot.
Yeah.
And your mobile phone was on in your hand, as in it was you were listening to. Were you streaming music, or were you listening to recorded music?
I don't know if it was a podcast or music.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Basically, buddy, I think this is part of disclosure, and my belief is that disclosure is actually decentralized, and I believe that you're actually chosen. And I don't want to go into the electromagnetics and the field theory of the stuff on the air, and I can't give you the equations for it. But I believe you were actually chosen for that encounter, and you were probably monitored for a long time, and that you that was for good or bad, that changed the trajectory. Just one thing I want to say. When you said you had the strange thought to go back out again after 20 minutes, can you remember, was it an intuition like, oh, I need to go back outside to walk the dogs? because the reason I ask is similar to them knowing when you're going to take a photo. The TR3B, the electromagnetics and gravity control, it's very advanced, and it's all part of the cloaking. All these systems are interrelated, and they can anticipate, because they can see stuff through time. I'm just wondering if they basically they I can't explain it in a logical manner at the moment, but they can anticipate. But basically, they can when they know you're going to take a photo. Basically, they're just watching you, and I basically believe you were chosen to. You were near on base. They probably had a character profile. They had all your school history and have everything, and I believe actually you were chosen for that, buddy. That wasn't by chance, because I've had military encounters myself, and I think you're very lucky, and I think the last time we spoke about technology was together was the Viktor Grubenikov stuff that's from Russia. But I'm so proud of you, buddy. I think you're brilliant, and I think they might have cued you. They might have, with mobile phone technology and all this, you can send thought patterns through them. So they might have cued you to go back outside, and then when you're about to take a photo, they thought, okay, well, that's enough. Goodbye. And I think that's all I can add and ask at the moment, buddy. But thank you so much.
Dang, I appreciate that. Yeah, I hope if they could just let me know, it's but other parts I don't really talk about that a whole lot. Or a couple of months before that. Oh, actually, I said it happened in July, halfway through July. That's not right. It would have happened in like September.
Yeah, I was gonna say you said there weren't leaves a lot on the trees. I was like, really, in July?
Yeah, no, it would have been September because yeah, I said that wrong because the part I'm getting ready to talk about happened in July. I had a dream in July about new energy coming soon. That was like all I remember from the dream. Like basically, I woke up with like an image of not like I was being operated on, but just like if I was like laying down and two people were like looking over me, like two heads or something. You know what I mean? Like maybe like in a dentist's office or something, and two dentists were looking over you. It was like I had a feeling like that, even though I can't remember any like details. And I just like woke straight up, and I'm a very heavy, hard sleeper. I don't like just wake straight up like that. And I woke straight up and was just like awake, and I was like had that message in my mind, new energy in a couple months. And I was like, what the hell, new energy in a couple months? What does that mean? And then 2 months later is when that happened. So yeah, I guess that would have been September. So my bad, I said July earlier. And then the weird part is, yeah, I don't know if a lot of people talk about downloads. I don't know if I would call a download per se, as much as maybe like an epiphany. Like because of the way I saw it moving and stuff, I was able to put other things together or things clicked for me. But maybe that's like the download people talk about. I don't know. I'm just trying to make sense of it. But after I did start talking about it, I did have a toothbrush go missing. I live by myself. It's just me and one dog now. I don't have people over. I just like research this stuff and keep to myself pretty much now. So that was odd. Like you use your toothbrush, you put it back. So that had me a little worried. But besides that, for some reason, I felt like that was me from the future. I don't know why. I just like had that vibe when I saw the craft or the drone or the TR3B, whatever you want to call it, the black triangle.
When you
I
saw
meant the
that,
aliens were
you
gonna
thought it
draft
was
you. I thought you meant he was gonna get drafted by the Galactic Federation. I was like, oh hell yeah, Screen, you are chosen.
Dude, if I get a TR3B, I'm picking everybody up.
Go wait, you
We're
saw
going to
this craft and
Mars.
you had the intuition that it was you? Like that was you in the future?
Yeah, it was so weird. Like, I don't know if that was because it was just connected to me, so I felt like I was part of it, and maybe that's why I felt like it was me from the future. You know what I mean? Because I felt connected to it. I don't know. That was just like that's how I felt. It was odd.
That's so fascinating that it had like that visceral of an effect, like impact on you, like an emotional level almost.
Yeah, I normally don't talk about that part of it because like I'm generally pretty technical, so like I try to stick to like what I saw and
That
like how it,
reminds me
you know.
It reminds me of the feeling I had when I saw what I think was an orb, but I don't think it was probably as intense as yours. Karta, what's
No,
up?
a lot of
Go
people
ahead,
do that.
Screen.
They feel connected to the orbs.
Yeah. Yeah, Karta, go ahead. Welcome.
Hi, Screen. Really enjoyed listening to your story. I think it's the first time I've heard it, like from the beginning, all the way from the beginning. And really interesting, fascinating story. And I think Alex has a good point about the proximity to a military base and to your work for Boeing. I think that could be something that is a factor there. I think about my own experience and the fact that I grew up on SAC Air Force bases, and I think there's some connection there. One of the things I wondered, did you have any kind of disruptive sleep or any kind of what people call missing time, even brief periods of missing time, or interrupted sleep, or anything where you was sort of out of the ordinary?
That one's tough because I didn't have any like anything with sleep until like recently. But as far as like the missing time, because of the way that I now live, um, it's like I don't really pay attention to the calendar or the clock. Like I try to pay attention to it the least amount as possible. Like and so sometimes the missing time for me thing is hard because like I'll be like, what, it's Wednesday already? You know, so that one's a little bit harder to tell because there were times where I thought that, but like I couldn't be sure.
Dude, so Screen, I'm sitting here and I'm looking up all this information. I'm trying to think to myself, like, if you saw a TR-3B, how long ago was this again?
Like 2 years ago, it was
Okay,
September 2021.
Okay, you saw it 2 years ago. In 1963, an SR-71 Blackbird was made that flew 2,200 miles an hour and almost flew into space on accident. Ben Rich died in 1995 and said that we had the technology to take ET home, and that we had technology that you couldn't even fathom in 50 years prior to that. And he said, not that you can't believe it, that you can't fathom. And then now it's been 50 years since then. That's another quote from him. So yeah, I mean, it's just like that's pretty much disclosure. Like the dude from Lockheed Martin is just sitting here telling you that there's fucking TR-3Bs and shit flying around. Like he literally, I was like, I was almost certain I'd never read anything about him dying of Alzheimer's or anything. He died of throat cancer, which doesn't affect your cognitive abilities whatsoever other than the drugs you're on to stop the pain. He actually died 2 years after he made that statement in 1993. So yeah, I mean, there's alien shit. I mean, there's like at least advanced craft that we made that made, you know, like seem like alien stuff floating around. I truly believe that, man. It's crazy. I just, your talk tonight kind of had me look that up. I'm actually talking with Klaus about it because I'm like, what the fuck? This is basically full on disclosure.
But
Yeah,
if I
dude.
may, yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good point because I think like a lot of people, I didn't really expect anything from these hearings, right? And really, so what? You know, because it's already happening. It's happening to people like Scream, and I think that that's an interesting point that Alex raised. That maybe it's selective disclosure. So that's a kind of a interesting take.
Well, the aliens are assholes anyway. They showed up at 2 schools and just freaked out a bunch of kids and told them the whole planet was going to burn to the fucking ground. So, yeah, they need to just, stop just doing like selective disclosure, especially to children, and maybe just, do like a super Phoenix Lights or something. Fire some laser beams at some buildings. Do fucking anything. Like shit, you know.
Yeah, but like, how do they pick the people though? That's like, you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't doing shit.
Yeah, I know. We're chilling and having a bad day, and it's just like woo, 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 in your backyard. You're like, what the fuck? Woo, 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 woo. Like, oh shit. You mean there's all kinds of shit can happen in that situation, right? So, man.
Yeah, I don't know. When I was like in third grade, we all signed this poster, and it went up on this shuttle and orbited Earth, and then came back. And I
Oh, you
always
told me
like
about
wondered
that.
if I like attracted them by doing that.
Well, your DNA might be on there in some form. I mean, microscopically even, right?
That's what I was going to talk about. You said your toothbrush went missing, and then you also mentioned how you felt a sort of connection to what you were seeing. If it is a government craft, maybe they took your fucking DNA and incorporated it somehow, some way into something. Who knows? And maybe that's why you felt connected.
Oh, I didn't even think about incorporating the DNA, but I did think about them like taking it for that. But oh, dude, I totally just remembered something else, and then I forgot it again. I will let you know when I remember. Heather reminded me of it. Sorry.
Heather, say what you said again. We got to get this.
I don't know. Now
You guys
I'm on
can't
the
remember
spot
shit.
because I'm on the spot now. I don't know. It was about how, you mentioned your toothbrush went missing, and you also mentioned that you felt like a sort of connection to what you've seen, and maybe they used your DNA somehow, some way. I don't know how they would have done it or why they would do such a thing, right? But the fact that your toothbrush went missing, since you had your dream, and in between that and seeing the craft, like maybe the toothbrush missing is something significant. I mean, because that's an easy way to snag your DNA without you even fucking notice. Come in your house when you're not there, scoop that toothbrush real quick. That's all they need.
Yeah, for real. You don't know how easy it is to get in people's houses. I come from an alarm background, and then like just look up lockpicking lawyer on YouTube. You'll get some extra protection for your house if you do that. But yeah, but aliens could want it too, right? So it's like I get torn because I technically don't know which one it was, aliens or human made, because I didn't see. And both, I guess, would have reasons to take a toothbrush, but I don't know. But I remember what I was going to say. Afterwards, like when I said I just kind of like had an epiphany and understood stuff. Like I understood electricity in a different way than I did before, and I started like making like earth batteries essentially. And then I found people on YouTube making them, and it's like it's so crazy because you can just literally take different metals and put them together with some dirt and even different types and make like it's like a three-phase earth battery. And yeah, I put all this stuff on my Instagram, but like you can get voltage to power LEDs out of that, and it's like, so we're just like not efficient with the stuff that we do. And it like that encounter kind of helped me realize that, which was weird. I even got into like Alex said, of Viktor Grebennikov and Victor Schauberger, and started studying all their stuff and was fascinated with these beetle wings and the vortexes that they create, little mini vortexes in them. And when you put static electricity to them, they float. And those are just like beetle wings, And so the same thing that they do is kind of like what that TR3B looked like it was doing.
Are we doing hands?
We are, Sue. Before we get to you real quick, Screen, this is probably the most important part of this UFO intro. I need you to tell me to stop when the rate of wah 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 is accurate, okay? You ready?
probably like right before it slowed down.
That was okay. Thank you. It's for science.
That was fucking awesome, bro. It was like woo, woo, woo. But I always imagined it would be like a or a higher pitch that I can't reach really, right? The craft I saw, I was sitting close enough to hear the hum. But when you hear other people in their TR3B stories, it has this like metallic high frequency that you can feel in your bones. It's like a frequency that's not normally achievable, I don't think, by like regular radio speakers, right, Screen? Like it's like something different, like something that can affect you.
Yeah. That's why I was saying kind of like right before it slowed down, because it's like if you could tell how those little wah-wahs like powered up to the big one, it was like that, but like a lower tone, if that makes sense. Like, all right, I'll try to do it. Hold on. I'll try to do it again. It was like, like that.
Thank you. Sue, go ahead.
Hi, I have a quick question for Skreenname, who's one of my favorite people on UFO Twitter. Just telling you that. And just a little experience that was ironic. First of all, Skreenname, did they take your did your toothbrush go missing before the event? Before the sighting?
It was after I was like talking about it and stuff. Like I
Okay.
put it on Facebook.
Because like what Heather said about taking your DNA, I was thinking, wow, did they really take your toothbrush? And then, so, okay. So I was wondering about that. I haven't had a UAP or UFO actual sighting or anything. I've had a lot of paranormal experience, and I'm kind of like starting to wait for a UFO UAP kind of out there in the sky. And I've been trying to look out. I'm in the city. I can barely see the sky, but I've been trying to look out at night sometimes and just look around. So sorry, I have a stuffy nose. Last night, it was very late at night, and I heard this noise, and it was so loud. So I looked out my front window, and I saw a neighbor with a light on, and it was very, very late, and nobody ever has lights on. And I thought, oh my God, am I going to see something? So I'm looking up in the sky again. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have to tell everybody. And it's a really, and I'm like, what is that? What is it? Then it dawned on me. I live right next to the hospital, and we have med flights all the time, and it's very often in the middle of the night. So like a second after I thought how excited I was, I heard the helicopter sound, and it went over, and it left. But I was getting so excited, I thought I really was really having an experience.
It's hard not to get excited when that stuff happens. That's why I don't talk about the other TR3P sightings I've had, because I can't be 100% that's what they were, and I try not to get too excited and just think that's what they were.
That's a good way to be, though, I think, to have that mindset, right? I think
usually the helicopter is so low because the hospital's one street away, and they land on the teleport. Teleport? Whatever it is. Anyway, so it just goes over the trees, and sometimes it circles, and then an hour or so later you hear it leave again. And unfortunately, it's a lot of time during the night, and it gives you a horrible feeling that somebody's leaving, in a teleport, in a
helipad.
Thank you. I cannot speak.
You're good.
A med flight, it gives you a horrible feeling. But it was, for some reason, I could hear like the engine this time, and I was just in the mood. And I looked out, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I saw a light in another window. So I'm like, yes, somebody else sees it. Yes. And I'm looking out, and then I heard like, and I'm like, oh,
What a
poor guy,
letdown,
poor
right?
whoever's in the helicopter. But damn, I didn't have an experience.
Yep. Fringe, go ahead, and then we'll have Cartalk go again.
Thanks for your story. I appreciate hearing about it. I'm really interested in the thing you said about the plasma, because it's been my experience these ships can be telepathic, which also kind of goes with your story. But if you're willing to share, I was actually wondering about, you said your sleep had been disrupted and you were, I didn't know if you said about dreams or if you just said your sleep was disrupted, if you're willing to share about that.
Yeah, I don't mind. I just had the dream a couple months before that new energy was coming in a couple months. That was it. I just woke up remembering that phrase or that message, and maybe like two like beings kind of looking over me as if like I was in a dentist chair, and I could just see their two silhouettes of heads or whatever. I don't know what, if I was in a dentist chair or whatever. I just remember the two faces in the message. Other than that, my sleep didn't really get disrupted, except for recently. I don't think it was connected. I think it's just now that I'm opened up to this. It just happens more often now. Because like every time it would happen when I was younger, I would write it off as like, like just like a trick of the mind, or like something happened that I just didn't see the details and just don't have time to put two and two together and don't care. So like I would never think about it again. So like I never had like too much activity at once until I finally was open to it. And then like they said, it's like you can get a handle on it, but it's like stuff still happens every once in a while.
I don't know if you're already doing this, but it might be really helpful, just a suggestion, to start writing your dreams down and start looking at them a little bit more closely.
Yeah, I have like a folder on my phone. I was doing like an app on my phone because it's close to the bed and all, and then like taking the time to write it out, I kind of like take too long and forget the dream anyways. And then I went to just using like a folder with voice memos, so I could just say it into it actually. So yeah, that's a good idea for everybody in case you had the same problem I was having trying to like write it and get it all out before you forgot.
I was just going to say the same thing. Not just your dreams, but about your experiences. I know when we have them, we sometimes think, oh, I'll never forget that. I'll remember every single detail because it's such a pivotal event in your life. But over the years, it does kind of get a little, kind of mixed up, or if some things aren't quite as clear. So it's really nice to be able to go back to a written record and, just so you don't kind of mix that up later in life. And then, anyway, just a suggestion.
I didn't mean that, Sappy. Sorry.
It'll be fine,
It's
Screen.
not that
Karen.
hard. It's not that hard to write stuff down, Screen. It's okay. You don't need to cry.
Karen, do not push your beliefs on my friend Screen. You do not understand his mind. Some people cannot write these things down. They must live them. We give them the freedom, Karen. We give them recompense and freedom.
I like the idea of the audio recordings. That's a great idea.
That's what I'd have to do for sure. In a funny voice.
I've been doing that with AI and different articles. I didn't realize how spoiled YouTube had gotten everyone. People won't even read an article. It's wild. So yeah, I started doing that stuff in like AI voices. It's been awesome.
My buddy basically lucid dreams every night, and you probably know this already, but he every single night for like years, he has I think like 8 or 9 notebooks full of like every morning he writes down his dreams, and he claims that that's like the surefire way to be able to lucid dream. So it's not a bad idea at all. I mean, you hear people like Paul talk about this stuff, and I guess lucid dreaming is a big part of all the astral projection stuff, which I've never done, but Yeah, I don't know if there's this consciousness link like you've been talking about, Screen. I think that's and it's something you want to explore more and delve into. Then that would be a good idea. I don't know that I want to go any deeper than I've gone. Honestly, kind of freaked me out. But Screen's a big boy, so he probably could.
I'm telling you, Kimball, if you follow the phenomenon, you follow actual researchers and not these assholes that are just regurgitating like Keel and stuff. It all ends up like all the bullshit washes away, and it ends up being consciousness, Native American teachings to gain that like level of consciousness. Like every time, some form of consciousness, either you're reflecting it on yourself, or you're causing the phenomenon to alter things in your house because of your stress. It's like it's leeching off of you. I'm telling you, man. Like I've done. Me and Screen have like almost the exact same like encyclopedic knowledge of the phenomenon, and we've come to this agreement, I believe.
Well, should we wrap it up, or does anyone else want to come up and ask questions?
Oh, hey, I came in a little late, but I'd like to ask something if you guys are still awake.
Yeah, man, you're good.
Go for it.
By the way, it's great to see you guys again. I'm such a fan of the good vibes and experience and expertise you guys bring to the table. So you probably already covered this maybe a couple hours ago, but I was just wondering about the video that was, I guess, allegedly released along with this, kind of ridiculous congressional hearing today.
Did everybody hate it on the hearing? I thought they gave a lot, personally.
But what about the video? Just in terms of like potential evidence. Did you guys see that? Is that a real thing? I can send you the Reddit link or whatever.
52% of all UAPs that are seen are spherical, according to Chris Lato, as of today. And when it comes to that sphere, the way it moved, it didn't seem like a balloon, but that's really not too much of what I'm worried about. He pretty much said they'd never figure out what that was, but they did have a bunch of data, like where the UAPs are sighted the most and things like that, which I thought was pretty cool. But yeah.
So the video itself you saw, and what did you think of that as like a potential source of evidence?
I think there's other videos that are so much clearer and better that's just some shit they threw out there.
That's basically what they said, right? He said that that was still an unresolved case because they have other cases that take priority, things that payload, things that maneuver. So that would insinuate that that's not solved because they have these better ones that they're working on.
That's not my take on it personally. I don't really take anything that the politicians say as any sort of like data-driven value. But if they're releasing this video, it's something to at least look at, objectively, whether it's real or not. So I'd love to see. I mean, to me, not being, just from looking at it, it appears pretty believable to me. But I don't trust what the politicians say at all.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. I guess I had a different take, but now you're making me rethink it. But I was, because like in my mind, and Tupac has kind of helped me realize this, like videos and photos are not it, right? Like that's not going to be what disclosure is about, I don't think. I mean, obviously they're fascinating and like I'm super curious to see them, but it's, as far as videos go and like whatever weight they hold, to me it's not really even like the integrity of the image, like the clarity of the image. It's more the context of where they come from. Like in my mind, the videos released by the Navy, I think, are probably near the top, just because, especially the Nimitz event and Fravor and Dietrich and all that.
Specifically researching with the Navy, so I totally agree.
And so on that note, I think the fact that they showed this video today before the Senate, it's coming from Arrow, this task force.
Yeah,
I almost was gonna say this is like the best UFO video we have. But
Thank you, and I feel like no one's talking about it. Whether or not
I thought you just said the opposite, but
no, I'm saying the video is a data point to look at and analyze.
Yeah,
and who knows? It could be completely real or fake. Either way, it's a fascinating story. Not the most
well, and
fascinating
where
story.
it's coming from, right?
Yeah, where it's coming. So, what? Please help educate me. What organization specifically made it? You said
Arrow. Well, hopefully they didn't make it, right? But Arrow.
Well, they captured it at least as documentarians, right?
Right. It's the UAP task force, basically. It's gone through a few different names, but it's now Arrow. The
And
all
they're
domain.
what is the umbrella company of Arrow?
It's not a company. It's the government. It's the task. It's the task force that
It's an executive branch, kind of an oversight.
Yeah.
Is it in the Pentagon?
No, it's executive branch, the president.
Oh, it's
presidential branch. So basically, it's like a task force to
I don't know
oversee
if that's
all
true,
the other agencies. Huh?
Because Arrow was set up. That was the task force that was set up by Gillibrand and Rubio. Biden set up his own White House task force, but I don't think that's where this came from.
So Arrow's not that then?
Yeah, because like Biden's the first one in history, presumably, if the information / propaganda is correct. But Biden, correct me if I'm wrong, is the first to have allegedly daily briefings on this phenomenon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Biden regime, right, Karen?
Yeah. Well, it's definitely an escalation in mainstream political discussion about it, but it's such a goddamn cock tease, obviously, because we have all these historical precedents, right? The first object shot down over our airspace, the first NORAD mission in history that seems to have very much taken down not enemy UAPs or whatever, and so it's a definite escalation. If it's propaganda, it's a very fascinating escalation. If it's real factual stuff, it's even more exciting, obviously, right?
Okay, so it's within the Department of Defense.
Would that be Pentagon, would you say?
Okay, here's what it says. It's an office within the United States Office of the Secretary of Defense that investigates identified object, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Yeah, I'm actively investigating this. I've been talking to people in both DC, where I've been kind of living half the time, and now in San Diego and LA, where I live. So it's been, half these like egghead Pentagon people I've been getting to know, which I'm happy to give you more details, maybe in a more encrypted kind of chat environment. Not a big deal. But it doesn't seem like it's a from my perspective and many others, it's a whole new set of parameters in terms of how much people in the Pentagon and the Navy are allowed to talk, not other organizations for some reason. And that's part of the mystery to me.
So technically that's the executive branch because that's the cabinet, Defense.
What does the Pentagon fall under? Is that the executive or is
probably,
that separate?
Yeah, probably the executive. I mean, they're funded obviously by the legislative branch, Congress,
right.
But
was a documentarian researcher. I'm a filmmaker or whatever. And my first feature film was about this subject. It was a science fiction film, but I researched very heavily to try to give my best interpretation of the truth. But two of my projects are more documentary by nature. So I've been having a lot of fun, really deep diving into this to the best of my ability. But it's been fascinating because I was in DC for several weeks and got to I've been kind of doing a Hunter Thompson-esque sort of gonzo journalistic approach to it, which we should probably link up to and compare our notes. But I've been speaking to a particular guy who seems to be the head or the main technologist who handles everything under the ocean. And so he kind of pointed me in contact, sorry, I'm losing my voice, but with some Navy pilots here in San Diego, where I happen to have family. So it's easy for me to research here. And it's been a very interesting culture shift going from, the DC sort of bar scene where I kind of talk to people and kind of hang out with them in their local pubs. And also now with the sort of Top Gun Coronado scene, it's been a fun adventure.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
If you have a link to some of your stuff, throw it in the nest. Do we have any more questions we want to get to, guys? Anyone want to come up and chill or ask Skreen anything? I have one more question for him, but Skreen, I don't know that you said this or not. So do you feel like this is a higher intelligent, like another higher intelligence? Do you feel like this is man-made craft? What are your thoughts on that?
Man, that's so tough. I still go in circles on that one. Like I said, I started off thinking it was otherworldly. I thought it was aliens. then I learned about the TR3B and Rendlesham Forest and all that, and put two and two together with the patents and how close I live to the base. I'm like, okay, it's military, probably the black budget programs or the contractors because Boeing's here. It's all the stuff they work on at the base. It's just unsurmountable evidence, in my opinion, for it being military or contractor. But then you talk about this conscious link and this other stuff, and are we doing things that advanced? Or is this actually alien craft? How do you know? Or is that craft now like its own person? Like it's not an alien because it's a craft, and maybe he was just bored and wanted to chill, and I lighted up on his map when I was in my head. That's what Steve Muir and John Burroughs seem to they back that stuff up, that they say consciousness is put into those things, and they fly around like Knight Rider, like they do their own thing. And then I think there's a story where this lady like hangs out with a craft, like it comes and visits her and stuff. I forget her name, but there's a story like that. So that's very hard for me to say.
Dorothy.
No, not Dorothy. This is a different story. Like an actual like craft would come, like just hang out by the house and just hang out with the person and then fly off later, like they were just two friends hanging out.
Fringe, go ahead.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was trying to get at earlier. I've never heard about the military having that technology, because these ships are there's definitely a biological telepathic component to them, because they can actually fly by willpower and telepathy. And so hearing that the military also has technologies is very interesting to me. Is that what you're saying?
You there, Screen?
Sorry, my phone was freezing up. Can you repeat that one more time for me?
I'm asking, are you saying that the military also has the same technology as the so-called ETs, as far as their ships also being possibly, there's a biological and telepathic component to the ships because of how they fly, because they can fly on just willpower and on telepathy. And my question is, are you saying the military also has that capability? Thank you.
Hold on a second. How do you know that alien spacecraft fly that way, Fringe?
Yeah, that's a whole other story. I'm willing to share it.
I mean, I'm just not trying to hate. I just feel like that's a pretty important part of that question, because you're assuming a lot, in my opinion, that the craft fly a specific way.
Well,
but I mean,
I'm not assuming it. It's just because I know it's so crazy it sounds. I've gotten lessons on a couple of these ships.
Sounds like we need to have Fringe on UFOintros.
We can do that.
Yeah, I'm up for it. We probably don't have time for tonight. It'll be a long one.
Right.
Oh yeah, we have to do like 48 hours. We got to make you a promo and talk to you and stuff.
They do fly. I'm going to preface this by saying that the beings have capability of a lot of deception, and so let me rephrase that. It's my perception that these things fly off of telepathy and off of the same type of willpower that if any of you have ever had a lucid dream and say you decide, oh, I'm just going to fly out of here, it's that same type of willpower that you kind of say, okay, I'm going to fly now. And that same type of willpower you have to put into your mind is the same type of technology they use to fly.
That was really well stated. And I like the amount of thought you put into this. Paul, go ahead.
Hey guys. Yeah, sorry I missed the whole fucking beginning, most of this talk. Screen. I'm gonna go back and listen to your story because I was looking forward to it. I straight up passed out, but I think I stumbled in at an interesting time, at least, because I love what you two or three are just talking about right now. The idea that they're well, the the idea that there's a biological telepathic element to the phenomenon, I think, is pretty much undeniable at this stage if you look at the phenomenon itself. And whether or not it's alien, whether we can really know that is another question. But Fringe, I can't wait to hear more of your story because I've talked to several people who've had these experiences, this perception of being on the craft and flying it, and you hear it time and time again, what you're describing. So, yeah, I'm interested, and I love how you phrased it as your perception, because in the end, I'm an experiencer. Any experiencer can only honestly report what they are experiencing. They can't know what it is, and it's an important distinction. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, and to answer Fringe's question too, yeah, when you start looking into those things, they're called ARVs, alien reproduction vehicles. I would guess that they call them that for a reason, but Steve Mira basically backs up what John Burroughs says, and that they've actually, Steve Mira even said that a rat was consciously flying a F-18 or something like that back in the 80s. So, I definitely think that conscious flight with the technology, we have that as well. To me, it's like, how do you tell the difference between them? Genga's gone into some of that before, but even then, it's still hard to tell unless you physically see, somebody in it, controlling it, whatever. But John Burroughs basically said, he's had some of his stuff declassified because he got paid out for his health. He had like radiation poisoning from it, basically. And what he's saying is that, to quote him, he said, consciousness is the new weapon. And that what they were doing in Rendlesham Forest that night, where the Black Triangle was, they were figuring out how to weaponize the phenomenon. Take that for what you will. He then said about how the consciousness is uploaded to those crafts. And then Steve Mira backed that up, and he called the biocircuits. And he said he had signed Official Secrets Acts, and now that IBM's talking about them, he can talk about them. And I'm like, biocircuits, what does that mean? Like living circuits? And then he talks about the consciousness in the craft. So are they living essentially? Who knows? But he talks about these plasma memory cells, all kinds of wild stuff that we are just behind on. That's what's been around since the 80s, and they've been advancing ever since. They don't just stop, right?
That's fascinating stuff.
Yeah, we are at the 10-minute mark for the show. We're trying to keep them at 2 hours, guys, so people, when they go back and listen to it, don't have to slog through 7 hours and stuff with the regular spaces. So just FYI.
Good call. Thank you, Shane. Paul, do you want to follow that up, and then we'll go to Kyle?
Yeah. Thanks for the space, guys. I look forward to going back. Biocircuits, biotechnology, it's so fascinating. Like where does consciousness start and end? It makes me think of how it's one thing when you're driving a car and you kind of feel like the car is an extension of you. And I know it's the same for any vehicle as a fighter pilot, whatever. You become what you're piloting. But to actually have your consciousness merge with a machine, if it's true, it must prove that consciousness is non-local. It's just fascinating. I love it.
Yeah, for sure. Paul, definitely go back and listen. We were actually talking about you before you got in here. Kyle, go ahead.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having the space. It was really good. I just have to say, I've always been into aircraft myself, and I always have the people that come and post the pictures or whatever of the random aircraft, and I have seen that style of aircraft before, and someone posting it saying oh, does anyone know what this is? And I thought it was a fake photo. Maybe it was, but I can't even remember where I seen it. but I've definitely seen photos. I don't remember if it was on Instagram or YouTube or Twitter, but I do believe that the ancient UFOs that we found did use no controls. They were controlled by consciousness, from what I understand, from what I've gathered from different people and different information, that I do believe that they're a form of consciousness, that there's no controls inside the craft itself at that level. Yeah, thanks for having me up, guys. Thank you very much.
Hey, that's awesome, man. Yeah, no, I actually I tend to agree with that. If not flying them consciously, then remotely, right? Bob Lazar says in the stuff he worked on, it looked like it didn't have a place for anybody and there was no control, right? So all that kind of lines up. Yeah, it's man, even David Adair, the stuff he talks about, as wild as that is, it lines up with like the stuff Linda Moulton Howe talks about, where there's like these underground locations essentially that are just like super ancient. So it's like super deep, and there's like these remnants of like supercomputer type devices or crafts or whatever it is. And then when the people get in there, they kind of link up to it consciously, and that's what activates it. And then, you start looking at, like I said, how static electricity works with a lot of stuff, and it gets very interesting.
I just wonder where the infrastructure is for this. Where are these pilots? Who are they? You know?
AI.
Or the Air Force, right?
Whoa. Well, those are two options. But holy shit. Yeah, I mean, AI.
Actually, in the meeting, my bad, dude. In the hearing, nobody talked about that either. They were talking about implementing AI to help out.
Yes, they were. Yeah, what was it? Natural something language that basically.
Yeah, the language models or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Joe Murgia was saying that in his mind, this could go in one of two directions. Either we wait for the slow burn with Arrow, and essentially, they gather a bunch of data. They have an AI look at it and say, "Here you go. There's X amount of events that we've resolved to be demonstrating breakaway physics, and do with that what you will." So either we wait for that, or we wait for obviously whistleblowers to come out and another situation.
That's the singularity, bro. It started. Now that the AI is, it's the loop. They're going to be running stuff.
And they're going to maybe do disclosure, Like I kind of intuitively thought that disclosure would come via AI, that maybe we could even, make contact via AI, like in Chains of the Sea and stuff. But it seems more and more likely that's actually the case.
Yeah, what if the phenomena is AI? Like, that's how it interacts with us, right? Like, it could manipulate energy, essentially, but, it's wild.
Totally.
Well, this is probably one of my favorite spaces we've done. It went really well. Thanks in large part to Shane, honestly. But yeah, thanks so much, Skreen. And is there anything else you want to say or talk about before we close up?
Not really. I mean, we pretty much covered a lot of it. I don't usually tell it all at once, because I feel like I tell it a lot and I'm kind of obsessed with it. So it's like, I don't want to tell it too much. But yeah, I mean, pretty much covered every part I could think of. And just, for everybody to be careful. That's the main thing, right? Like, if you get too close to these things, or, you open up a connection to these things that you're not ready for, you need to be careful. And that's something that nobody talks about either. And yeah, thanks y'all for inviting me and having me on here. This was awesome.
Thank
Guys,
you.
I have something to say real quick also on that. Do your research. Do your due diligence. If you are hearing one thing, look up the other. Look up both sides of the coin. Do your research. Investigate on your own. Check with your peers. Don't be afraid to be wrong. Be more open. When people come in and say stuff to me all the time that I don't agree with, but I do my best to listen and learn from it. We're all on our own adventure. We're all just humans here on this planet. If you go out in your backyard and you see a TR3B like Skreenname did, do your research, look into it. Like you said, like when I had what happened to me happen, I just assumed right off the bat that it was a ghost, and then I woke up the next morning and sat down and really thought about it and decided that I have no justification to prove that. You know what I mean? It can very well much be still supernatural and not be what you think it is. I think what's going on is something we just simply cannot even grasp as humans, okay? So whether it be government craft or aliens, right? So just keep an open mind and do your research. And if you feel like you're sliding into a rabbit hole or something that's really deep, go grab some friends to help pull you out of it, or help take them in with you if you think it's worth the time. That's all I have to say on that.
Well said. Thanks again, guys. Friday, 10 p.m. Central, I believe. We're having Chris Bartle. I'm sorry.
No. I've talked to Chris about this.
Oh.
It is Bartel. He can blame the History Channel for that shit. It is Chris Bartel. I'm sorry, that's his screen name.
We talked about it too, bro. He said Bartle. I don't know what to tell you.
I literally, like I said, I told Chris it doesn't matter. The History Channel has labeled him to millions of people as Bartel. I can't do anything about that. It's now his screen name. You know, it is what it is. I deal in the facts. I deal in the facts of the situation, and that is just how it's got to be. I can't do it. I can't call him Bartle. I've known him as Bartel for years.
I'm going to have to trust.
Dude, the History Channel is calling you UFO Shane.
That's fine. And Travis Taylor would be like, hey, what's up, UFO Shane? Like, nothing much, Travis Taylor. Here's 10 grand. Thanks for coming.
No, UFO. They called you UFO Shane.
Good old UFO Shane.
Shane, Skreenname, thank you guys both so much, for real. This was awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good night, dudes.
And thanks, everybody else.
Illuminati got me feeling like Tupacalypse. I would've been on top of the charts, but it's politics. You do some gimmick shit and post, you get a lot of clicks. Drop some real shit and they probably won't acknowledge it.